I like anything with a story. So sometimes I'll arrive at a farm and it's a really posh, nice place and the grapes are really good, but there's nothing to it. There's just no story behind the vineyard. And then some other day you'll end up at a farm that's really rugged, nothing's nice, but you'll find this little vineyard on the top of a mountain that this guy's father planted when he used a horse to plow the ground 60 years ago, and there's like loads of history behind it. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. Doesn't matter the varietal, doesn't matter anything. It's about finding that story and finding that little vineyard, something that no one else is interested in. Searching for little diamonds in the rough.
Talking about the young winemakers that are really, not necessarily young, but people with different ideas, people who are prepared to go beyond boundaries. And Peter Walser is an absolute example of it. He does his own thing, he travels his own path. He started from basically nothing, just a passion to make great wine, to be in the industry and to do different things.
So often these days, people judge a wine before they've tasted it, and that is exactly where he came along and said, it's blank bottle, you don't have to judge it, you don't have to say, oh, I don't like Chardonnay. You taste the wine and then you say, yeah, I do like it, even if it's called something weird. And then you find out, oh, it actually is Chardonnay.
When people first heard about it, a lot of people thought he's insane. You know, you've got to put all the details on the label, tell people what they're buying and how much they want to pay for it. He had this idea in his mind and he followed it through unbelievably. Peter's got an amazing eye for vineyards, for good grapes. That's what makes a winemaker, is someone who can see what's going to come out of the vineyards and then really puts it into the bottle in the best possible way.
In the wine industry and the wine market, there is so much on offer, and so often we all try to emulate the best. Peter's approach has been completely different, to go off and create original wines with original packaging. One has to always go back to the quality of the wine, and his wines are really great.
Moving into my own facility, we had the freedom, but it was very, very expensive. To cover that expense, we also had to grow in volume. I worked on my own that harvest. I would arrive back from the vineyard with my truck full of grapes. I had to offload it myself, clean the machines, put the previous day's juice into barrel. Then I had to throw the grapes onto the sorting table, sort it, press it, clean up everything. I worked so hard. It was really bad for the family, for myself, for everyone.
In the old cellar, the place was very small, and then we was working in some kind of pressure. It's difficult because you have to move the stuff right there in one place. You must wait. When the barrel finished there, you must put it aside, then you put another one because there is no space to pack a lot of stuff. So it was difficult.
So if I look back, I've got this love-hate relationship with the old winery. It was initially that sense of freedom, but the financial cost and the physical cost to make wine on my own there was so huge that I, in a certain sense, hated the place, but the other sense I knew I had to do it.
Peter and I got married in his 3rd year of university, and about 3 years thereafter, we decided to start with a family. And everything up to then was perfect. But then at my 22-week scan, the doctor told us that our baby had a defect, a bilateral cleft lip and palate, and it was such a shock, and it was just an absolute dream that was shattered, your picture of what it's like to have your first baby. And on top of that, he was born 6 weeks prem. Every night was 2-3 hours screaming, non-stop, and there was absolutely nothing you could do to stop him. It was just a question of survival. He had his first operation when he was 4.5 months old to close his lip, and the second operation he had when he was 9.5 months old to close his palate. I woke up one morning from a noise in the kitchen, and I found Peter standing there completely confused, covered in blood. And my first thoughts were that he had a stroke, and we rushed him to hospital. And after a first and a second and a third opinion, he got diagnosed with juvenile myoclonic epilepsy, and he was 30 years old, and he was booked off driving for a year. So you can imagine having your own business with a small baby and not being able to drive. So at that stage, I just decided there's no ways I can carry on working. I had my own Pilates studio, and I decided to sell the studio and started driving Peter around. I still remember one night, Peter had a wine tasting in Cape Town, which I had to drive him to. And it was pouring with rain, and I had nowhere to take the baby, so he had to go along. So we were sitting in downtown Cape Town, outside this apartment building where Peter was presenting the tasting, with the rain gushing down on the car, with this 7-month-old baby on the back seat. And I still remember sitting there and thinking, this is crazy. This is really not my picture of how it would be with me and my first child.